All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started just so that we can stick to our time. And for our guests that attended live, we'll be able to let you get back to your day. And for everyone else that's watching this later, we can go ahead and get the video out. So, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Monica Petrella, and I'm the Food System Program Coordinator with UF Extension in Hillsborough County. And I have the pleasure of coordinating Homegrown Hillsborough, which is our food system program. So today we wanted to provide an update on something that we're calling summer school, and that's part of a bigger effort of Homegrown Hillsborough University. So we're going to go through those the updates and kind of provide the next steps, and then we will open the floor for questions for people that are tuning in live. If you're watching this later, you can feel free to email us, and we will answer your questions there as well. So first, as we like to start all meetings, just kind of, reminding people why we're here and what we do. So what is Homegrown Hillsborough? So Homegrown Hillsborough is a peer-to-peer learning network of community members with the mission to grow a strong food system. We value accessibility, community well-being, choice, education, and stewardship. And our vision is an integrated food system that is diverse, reliable, and creates opportunity for active participation. And so, what is Homegrown Hillsborough University? So, specifically, HHU, as we call it, is one of our many programs that we administer through Homegrown Hillsborough as a way to strengthen our food system efforts and ultimately accomplish our collective goals. So you'll see that other programs, and we have our leadership development, which is the partner platform, our working groups, and our networking events. And then we have our professional development, which is our emerging professional program, which is our internship program, and HHU, Homegrown Hillsborough University. So that is kind of how this fits into our greater work. We want to be able to provide continuous learning opportunities. And so, what is Homegrown Hillsborough University? So, this is relatively new and it's still being developed. I hope that in the next year or so, it's really, more fully fleshed out, and you can kind of see all of the exciting work that's to come. But ultimately, HHU is going to be our online catalog of learning opportunities. And the reason why we wanted to make something like this is because we had feedback that sometimes in-person classes can be hard to make because of scheduling, childcare, obligations, things like that. We know that a lot of our network partners are trying to turn a hobby into a career, which means that sometimes they have full-time jobs that make them work during the day. And so they won't be able to attend some of our more traditional programming. So HHU is supposed to be a way to help kind of meet those needs. And the way that it works is there's online self-paced courses. So right now we only have two courses that we'll talk about in a moment, but we hope to grow this catalog to really kind of meet the needs of our network partners and allow our partners to also see themselves as leaders. And so the courses will be available year round and online, so you can access them at 2 o'clock in the morning if that's the time for you, or you can take your time kind of trying to complete them. We're also going to introduce an ability for our network partners to be teachers themselves. So, as we said earlier, Homegrown Hillsborough is a peer-to-peer learning network, which means that we're constantly learning from each other. And so, we believe that everybody has a specialty, and that's something that they can share and teach with other partners, and we all have something to learn from others. And so, we want to be able to help operationalize that. The course selection will grow over time, and we'll kind of that will be probably in the next few months that we'll unveil what that looks like. But we're just trying to get our first program off the ground. And then all of our programs are hosted on our online platform, which is a free platform that you have to register for, and we will go over how to register for it if you are not already on it. So, how to access HHU, as I mentioned, it's on the online platform. So, if you are not already on the platform, you can join it by going to platform.homegrownhillsborough.com. Alternatively, you can go to homegrownhillsborough.com/connect or simply homegrownhillsborough.com and hover over to the connect tab. From there, you'll see the opportunity to either register as a new partner or to access the platform if you are an existing partner. And so I'll go ahead and just kind of show you what that looks like now.
Give
And
me
then,
a hug.
oh, real quick, Keisha, if you could go ahead and mute yourself. Also,
I'm so
Desiree,
sorry.
and then Savannah, if you want to go ahead and mute yourself as well, too. Oh, well, that's not working. So maybe the platform, the best way to access the platform is to go to homegrownhillsboro.com. This is our website, and you can hover over to connect, where you'll see new partners register here or existing partners access here. So if I'm an existing partner, so I would go ahead and click there and it would take me to the platform. If you are a new partner, you will simply be met with a registration page first, and then we will go ahead and approve you so you can join. Once you're in the platform, you'll notice that there are a lot of different things to explore. So over on the side is where we have our various groups. Everybody is part of the main page, which is where probably most of our resource sharing happens. But there's also more specialty topics that are specific to different interests. So, food production, for example, this would be more specific to food production and specifically the food production working group. And so you can see different types of posts and resources related to that. So for HHU, how you access it is over here on the left sidebar, you will see courses. And then soon, like I said, maybe in the next year or so, you'll see that there'll be many options for courses. But right now, we have our two foundational courses. And those courses are Food System Foundations, which talks about the food system and kind of how we define it and what we expect our network partners to be able to speak on and kind of the framework in which they operate. And then we have Homegrown Hillsborough Foundations, which really outlines how our network operates and how we hope to accomplish our goals through Homegrown Hillsborough. So those are our two current courses that we provide. So, it is important that you access them on a desktop. There is a mobile app, but the app is really the best for kind of being out on the go. I do encourage you to download the mobile app because I think that it does help by the membership database, the events, addresses, things like that. But Homegrown Hillsborough University, HHU, is not available on the app. It's only available on the browser. So yeah, we just showed you how to access those courses. And so just to recap, the courses up in the top left, and then you'll see those two courses. So what is summer school? So the kind of gist behind summer school is that it is hot outside, and I know that all the gardeners I know are throwing their cover crop on and heading indoors while we wait for the fall to come back around. So, the plants are taking a break, and so let's head indoors and see what work we can do over the summer to help strengthen our work in the fall. A lot of times when the weather cools down and it's planting season, you can be so caught up with just, tending to your garden or your courses or, whatever it is that it's hard to kind of do your homework in between. And so we think that the summertime is a great time to kind of be intentional about that and to make sure that our network partners are able to build really solid operational programs that can then support their the services that they deliver to their community. So summer school is a subset of HHU. So HHU is this, online intentional learning, platform. And summer school is as a subset of that. So it happens during the summer. And so, like I said, it's just a time for us to kind of go indoors and to really sit and think about our organizations as organizations and not necessarily the service delivery of them, if that makes sense. And so the focus is on the foundational work rather than the programmatic work. And just to kind of clarify, uh, Summer school won't always be for nonprofits, but for this time, we are focusing on nonprofits. So, an example would be that nonprofit programming, that is your hands-on delivery of your mission. So that's things like teaching classes, hosting events, doing potlucks or whatever, however your operation provides services, running your pantry, things like that. But a nonprofit operations is more of that behind the scenes work that makes those programs possible. So that's things like human resources, IT, building maintenance, any professional development that you or your staff might need. And so ultimately the programming does the mission, but the operations supports the operations. And so while we go through this process, I think that it'd be useful to also kind of think about what other operation trainings could we provide in future summer schools, whether that's things like building a website or managing a CRM, a customer relations management software. Or, there's a whole lot of various kind of building blocks, foundational building blocks. And like I said, we want to provide this time while it's too hot to be out there learning how to propagate and how to delivery meals, do meal services or program events, things like that. We want to be able to focus on do you have adequate HR policies for your staff? Do are you classifying your expenses in the appropriate ways so that way when you go to file, you'll be in compliance, things like that. So this summer, for our first cohort for summer school, we are focusing on our nonprofit organizations. And the reason why we wanted to do this was because we have encountered a few situations where our nonprofit partners are really struggling with the operations part of it. And so they have all of the passion and the momentum and even the people that they want to serve. But what is where they're kind of meeting a ceiling is being able to basically build their operation to be able to receive large grants, or they're confused on the reporting processes, or they're not exactly sure how to be in compliance, or how to manage their board, things that are more of that behind the scenes. And so, in order to be able to provide programs that can, happen in perpetuity and have large impact, we need to make sure that these nonprofit organizations are above board, in compliance, and basically able to, to do all of the kind of behind the scenes hard work in order to deliver the really impactful programs. And so for this summer, for summer school, we are going to partner with the Nonprofit Leadership Council. I'll talk about them in just a moment, to provide basics on financial management and budgeting. And so, one of the things that we talk about in Homegrown Hillsborough is we want to help establish food system careers. And we want our partners to be able to see their work go from maybe a passion project or a hobby into a career that pays them and their staff a livable wage, that maybe can provide paid time off, that maybe can provide health care, that maybe can be a place where they can, do this for the long term. And to take that hop from a hobby into a profession can be a scary one. But we want you to know that we want to support you in that, and not just us, but there's lots of resources that are available to help. And so, so this summer we are focusing on nonprofit operations, and I think that we all know that budgeting and financial management kind of makes the world go around. It'll allow you to know what type of donations you need, what types of grants you need to be writing for, how much you can be budgeting for different things in your nonprofit. And so the way that we are going to do that is we are going to open an application process for up to 15 organizations, nonprofit organizations, to come and attend this year's summer school cohort. And so the process is that in order to apply, you need to complete both the foundational courses on the platform. So both the Food Systems Foundation and the Homegrown Hillsborough Foundation. And it's really important that when you come to that first class, well, no, when you apply, that you have taken those courses because it'll make sure that we're all on the same page. And so we won't have to spend time kind of defining the food system, defining the sectors, talking about the different approaches. You'll already be primed and ready. So that way we can go right to the meat and potatoes of it and talk about how your nonprofit can satisfy these food system goals. And same thing for Homegrown Hillsborough, the foundational course with that. It'll better allow you to see what types of services Homegrown Hillsborough can provide and what types of things you might need to get elsewhere. Um, so 15 organizations, the application process requires you to take both the Foundation 1 and Foundational 2, which is online on the platform. They don't take that long. I think that probably 2 to 4 hours, kind of depending, and maybe not even that, maybe 1 to 2 hours, kind of depending on how fast you want to do it. It is something that I think you could knock out in an afternoon. And it really, like I said, it's really important that you sit down and take those courses because it'll just make sure that we're all on the same page and we can jump right into it when we start. So, in order for you to be eligible, you have to commit to both in-person trainings. And these trainings are going to be 4 hours long. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then once you complete the training, then out of the 15 program attendees, we are going to have a little kind of grant application, which you will be able to use for operational funding. So when we looked at grants that actually allow for operations, they were pretty few, pretty limited. And so we thought this was a great opportunity to be able to support you and your operations versus you and your programs. So just kind of some quick examples of what these, the at the end of this program, what you might be eligible to receive funding for. Operation expenses are generally categorized into two major buckets. This is just, kind of a very brief, broad overview. So administrative, management, and general expenses, these are things like salaries. So you might be able to apply for a grant to pay for yourself to work, which will obviously alleviate a lot of stress, and allow you to better deliver your service programs, and ideally go out and use that time to identify ways to continue sustaining your funding. Facility costs, utilities, office operations. Professional services, technology, governance, things like that. How to host your board, how to, be in compliance. Another bucket for operational expenses is fundraising, which all nonprofits have to know how to do. And you can rely on grants, but ultimately fundraising, and is going to be a more sturdy way to ultimately know how much money you can depend on, and how to ultimately create your programs. And so fundraising, things like venue rentals, catering, donor management software, campaign materials. And when they say campaign, they don't mean political campaigns because nonprofits can't be involved in political campaigns, but they mean campaigns to recruit people into your programs. So sometimes there'll be a campaign to, get kids to eat more vegetables. And so what would that look like? And then consulting fees, things like that. So those are just some examples. And so, how we're going to do this is by partnering with the Nonprofit Leadership Center. So, the Nonprofit Leadership Center has decades of experience of working with hundreds of nonprofits, getting them from that hobby stage into that professional career track level. And so, their mission is to develop and connect nonprofit leaders to strengthen their organizations and ultimately our communities. And so, they'll be leading these sessions and they'll be providing the kind of detailed nitty gritty of what these finances and how to manage them effectively. And so you have to be a nonprofit or you can be an aspirational nonprofit. So you don't need to come to this course with a 501(c)(3) certification. You can come with an idea and they will help you flush out that idea. So we know that there are a lot of people that have been thinking about these things that just need a little bit of a nudge to turn their idea into an actual plan. And so this would be kind of that first start. If you already have a nonprofit, you'll be a little bit ahead of the game, and that will be great. But by keeping this cohort to 15, we're really allowing to have one-on-one intentional time with the Nonprofit Leadership Council, and you'll also be able to access all of their resources and trainings and things like that. So you can be either current nonprofit or an aspirational nonprofit if you come with an idea. And in the application, you'll see that we ask, what is your organization's mission, or what would you like your organization mission to be? And so you'll see in those foundational classes on HHU that we kind of talk about some of those basic nonprofit things to think through. So if you are an aspirational nonprofit, then you'll find even more value in taking those classes, those online foundational classes, to make sure that you're in the right place and that you're ready to take this leap. And so the program dates are already set. It's going to be July 14th from noon to 4, and then July 23rd from noon to 4. And so, the 9 days in between these two courses, there will be a little bit of homework. We're really hoping that when you walk in, you'll be ready to kind of, take this seriously and do what's expected of you. And then by the time you leave on July 23rd, we really hope that you are feeling locked and loaded and ready to go out and start fundraising, or identifying board members, or go and file for that 501(c)(3). But what we're really hoping is that this hands-on experience will allow you to be, many steps ahead of where you were when you came in on the 14th. And so the 9 days in between, you should expect, some kind of homework of some sort. And that will be up to the NLC. They'll kind of, direct you on what that looks like. And then the classes are going to happen at the Extension office, which is located out in Seffner. So many of you have been out there. It's where my office is and where we work. And it's generally a pretty easy place to get to, especially at the noon and 4 hours. So, we're hoping that but by having this time slot from noon to 4, that traffic won't be terrible, it'll be convenient, and it'll be a very comfortable place. So those are the specific details. And in your application, you'll see those dates again to make sure that you add them to your calendar. And so that is it as far as our update. I did see some questions come in, so I'll go ahead and answer those. So, when is the start of this training in person? So, as the last slide said, July 14th is that first day, and July 23rd. You do have to attend both in-person classes. There's no exceptions. And, if unfortunately you have a conflict, then maybe this cohort won't be the cohort for you. But, we hope that we'll provide this program maybe again next summer, or we can talk with the NLC about doing other courses. But ultimately, July 14th and July 23rd are non-negotiable. And if you apply and attend one course and not the other, then you won't be eligible to apply for that funding in the end as well. And so would we be taught tax write-off items, activity, and income on homestead and farm? So specifically homestead and farming, I'm not sure, but you definitely will learn about how to categorize your expenses and how to put them in your budget. You'll learn about cash flow. You'll learn about profit and loss. You'll learn about just those really basic financial sheets that donors are going to look for, that grants are going to look for, and that ultimately your compliance reporting is going to look for. As far as homestead and farming, that might be more of a specific question that we can search for those answers either in between the 14th and the 23rd, or we can have a conversation about identifying the right person for you. I will say that the extension already does some courses on green belting, and so that might be a good first step as well. And then Keisha asked, the initial post didn't state that we had to be a food service nonprofit. If we provide other services such as mental health support, can we still join the cohort? Unfortunately, Homegrown Hillsborough, well, it's not unfortunate. Unfortunately, no is kind of the answer to that question. Homegrown Hillsborough is specific to food system efforts. And so I'm not exactly sure where you saw the original post, if that was on the newsletter. But Homegrown Hillsborough is specifically focused on food system efforts. So if your nonprofit has some kind of programming that relates to food systems, whether that is, therapy gardens or, cooking as a way to relieve stress or, provide nutrients to, nutrition education, things like that. But Homegrown Hillsborough is very focused on food system efforts. If you are interested in learning more about nonprofit, management, and you're outside of this food system effort, then I would encourage you to reach out to the NLC directly and see if they can get you on the right track. I feel very confident that there are other networks that focus on mental health, similar to how we focus on food systems. Yep, my pleasure. And then, will there be a summer school for for-profit organizations? Yes, but maybe not, and probably not this summer. So I do have a meeting next week with the Entrepreneurship Collaborative Center, which is a county facility and resource center, and we're going to talk about what this would look like for businesses and for-profit delivery, service delivery. But for right now, this cohort, this summer school that we are leading on is for nonprofits. So if you are interested in a for-profit version, then just stay tuned. And if you're not already on the newsletter, then make sure that you sign up. You can sign up for the newsletter by going to our website, homegrownhillsborough.com. And you'll see announcements about future summer school for-profit organizations. I will say that the ECC, the Entrepreneurship Collaborative Center, which is located in Ybor City, they have a lot of these courses already, and so you might benefit from looking at some of those. I just got their newsletter this morning, and they have a lot of really cool, relevant courses that might be a good fit for you. But what we are hoping with this is to build a cohort of food system nonprofits that can all learn together. And that way, questions that are relevant to food system providers can all be asked kind of at one time. And also to build a cohort of, once again, peer-to-peer learning. So that way you can be kind of in shoulders or, amongst others that are kind of going through this process as well. So with Homegrown Hillsborough, we're always trying to build our network and to build those relationships. And learning alongside people is a great way to do that. So those are the questions that I saw in the chat. If anybody else has any questions and wants to, either raise their hand or come off mute, then we can answer those. And then if not, then we'll stop the recording and send it out.
I did have a question from someone I talked to yesterday. She was asking if, so like, as far as who has to take the modules and who's going to show up. So, like, if someone else does their accounting, like, can Regina take the test online, or not the test, but take the course online, and then, like, their financial person show up? Or is it like you need the financial person to be doing the modules?
That's a really good question. And so I think that the intent is to basically have your organization ready. And so if you have someone who is kind of more of your food systems person, but then you have your administrative person who's doing the management, wanting to come to this course, I think that would satisfy. I guess what we would have to see is basically, it would be a shame if the person who came to the course and learned the kind of nitty-gritty nuts and bolts ultimately moved on to a non-food system nonprofit and kind of took that information with them. I think it would best benefit, especially like someone like Regina, who is going to be in this space for a long time. I think that it would probably benefit to have her attend these courses, but I understand that if she's as a leader, you delegate and you might have your person who's going to be your operations person. Um, So yeah, I kind of think that we would maybe evaluate that on a case by case
Case by case.
situation. But for those listening right now, I would highly encourage, if this is kind of your nonprofit, your baby that you're bringing to life, I would very much encourage you to kind of be the person in that seat, so that way you have the foundations for any future staff that might take this on. Um, so yeah, did I answer that?
I think so.
Okay, great. Any other questions from our guests online?
Hey, Monica, this is Georgia.
Georgia.
Um, I had a quick question. I missed the beginning, unfortunately, and so I just wanted to check in. Is this sort of a nitty-gritty uh, sort of course, or is it an overview?
It's a nitty-gritty course. So, what we are hoping for and what we've expressed to the NLC is that at the end of this course, we want you to be able to confidently know how to go into your financial management software and pull various reports and be able to access, different expenses and classifications, and to really be able to, if someone comes up and says, hey, I want to give you $10,000, but I need to see your profit and loss statement from last year, that in a matter of moments, you can go and pull that kind of stuff. And so, and because Georgia, you've been a nonprofit for so long, like this might be stuff that's familiar to you already, but we really want to go under the hood and really just kind of build these solid foundations, so that way, if you can feel comfortable managing a giant grant with subcontractors and still feeling like you are able to be in compliance and organized and kind of have that administrative financial aspect alleviated. So it's going to be nitty gritty. It's not going to be like, no, what, yeah, it's going to be nitty gritty. It's going to be very specific. Yeah.
Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to know because, like, we have profit and loss, we have some of those things, but yes, I would really love some more detailed, and that's what I had gotten from sort of the advertisement. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. And cool, that sounds amazing. I think that's something that's very needed. Thanks.
Yay, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. And I mean, the whole intent is and because you hopped on a little later, we want to be able to help our nonprofits get to that career level position and to get to a place where you can be managing, several big grants, or be able to go out and confidently ask for $50,000 from a donor, because you know that, hey, you give me this money and I can show you exactly how that's getting, spent. I can show you exactly what our administrative to programmatic, ratio is, things like that. So I'm glad to hear that you think that'll be useful. Kamani, I see that you have a question.
Yes, thank you for the information. And I am here on behalf of Miss Regina, so thank you for the
Oh, great.
example and question. So yeah, I think from my understanding, it sounded as if, it would be, I liked how you said that it would be good from an organizational perspective, to have everyone or just more so the organization to do this. So for instance, I'm here on behalf of Miss Regina, but could both me and Miss Regina do this?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
Okay.
will say that our the limit that we have, the 15, is more just because we want to be able to ride that one-on-one. And so we have more than 15 seats basically. So you could come as an organization and learn
Yeah.
together. And that's a really good question. So others on this call that are listening, feel free to invite other board members, other staff members. The more people that I think can learn from this, the better. So that way, later on, when you're like, in that class they mentioned this, do you remember it? You can call on each other and get those answers. So yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right. Well, I think that probably concludes our little update. We did record this, and so we will, once the recording is kind of rendered, we'll send out an update and get that sent out so people can watch it later. If you have any questions in the meantime, oh, Georgia has another question, so here we go.
Hey, so sorry, not so much a question. I just thought that this might be a good audience to also plug really quickly. the marketing course that we have
Yep.
with Homegrown Hillsborough. So I'm sorry if it's not appropriate, but
Yeah.
applications are due a week from today, and it's marketing for food businesses serving Hillsborough County. It is a great opportunity. We have 10 slots available. And if you have questions, reach out to me or it's on the platform from Janine Grays.
Yep. And
Unless
so
it
if
doesn't.
you are, yeah, yeah, sorry, Georgia. Okay. I think you're good. If you're not on the platform, get on the platform and you will see that the information for that program is listed there as well. Savannah did just drop the application form in the chat, but it is also on the platform as well. So thanks everybody for joining, and I hope to see you all at summer school.
Thank you, Monica.